Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Hosts4Hire. I am Lucas Rand and this is Kyle Cage. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Marvels. Now, this movie caught a lot of heat when it first came out, and we're going to be discussing our opinions on it, what we thought was done right, what we thought could have been done a little bit better, and so on and so forth. So I'm just going to go ahead and kick it off with I do not understand, man, what all the fuss was about with this movie.
Nor
we,
do
we
I.
watched it before and now we watched it just again today, like to preface this podcast, and man, it was good.
I really don't understand why it was like. Okay, there are some things that really didn't hit very
Yeah.
well, but overall, it did not deserve the hate that it
Hey, it was a
got.
fun movie. Like, I think it's been a while actually before this one that like there was just like a fun good movie, because like, man, like the feud that were before this movie I did not like. I know you and I,
Quantumania and
I
Love and
think
Thunder.
Quantumania, yeah, Love and Thunder, Multiverse of Madness,
Yeah, Multiverse of
here and
Madness
there.
was what I was thinking. I believe
Yeah.
that you're right. Quantumania was
I
after.
think it was after, but still,
Yeah.
it was a fun movie, and I enjoyed it a lot. Actually, I think that it was one of the better female-led superhero movies as of late. You know, like comparing it to Birds of Prey, Madam
Ugh.
Web. You know,
Yeah,
like I
which
was really
actually,
disappointed in Birds of Prey,
yeah.
and this one, I was like preparing myself to be disappointed because of all like the shit that people were talking, but I enjoyed it actually throughout.
It was a pleasant surprise, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
like
actually really
maybe
enjoyed the female perspective that this movie gave. Like that, it was written by a group of females. It was written by or directed by a female. The four main actresses were female, so like all the collaboration in the movie was done by females to female. You know, so like that female perspective was very much so in the film,
which might
and
be
we don't
why
get
the
that
hate,
often.
but it also might, was
Yeah,
probably why the
yeah,
hate for it was so
yeah.
loud because
100%
all
just
those
incel men.
goddamn
Yeah.
incels, yeah, like just
Just like
being
being
super
angry, but like
loud on
honestly,
the
that was one of
internet.
my favorite aspects of the movie, because like that's something that we do not see often. It felt different, and like that felt that was welcome, at least
And
for
it
me.
wasn't like campy or
Yeah,
overdone or in your
there was some
face.
campy
Like,
moments, but honestly, almost all the campy moments, in my opinion, came from Nick Fury.
yeah,
It came
that's
from
true.
Samuel L. Jackson's performance. Like there was a
Yeah,
very few campy moments that came from outside of Nick Fury's performance,
I
uh,
agree.
which was
But
interesting.
I mean specifically with the women power, they never like they never was like what I'm trying to say here is it
Well,
was never
like
like
it was
obvious or
never
in your
in your
face. Like,
face.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Which is
Like
why I really don't understand how people like freaked out
I think
about
you
the
and I
woman
talked
power.
about it in the original time that we had watched this movie, that like the characters were so cool that like people complaining about it being a female movie, like them being females, was the last thing on my mind. It was just like, oh, look at that, that was cool. Oh, that
Yeah,
was cool. They were just cool characters. Like the female aspect, like they didn't push that very heavily, you know.
yeah.
In this
It-
one, I feel like they really hit that like feminista empowerment, sisterhood, and this is just obviously from the perspective of a male, but like I felt like they hit that to me, you
yeah,
know.
I
Yeah,
don't know. It wasn't. It was great. It was
bro,
really well
King
done.
Valkyrie,
Dude,
I was shipping that hard, bro. Is that a thing?
I
Is
hope
that
so. I
if
hope
is
so.
because if that's a thing, I'm in.
Yeah, and it was super surprising to me. Like
Yeah,
honestly, I didn't expect it. Like when she said a friend, I was like
yeah,
thinking
that's
of
not who
different
I was
things it could
thinking.
be, and
Yeah,
like that was not even on my radar, which
yeah.
was
I
great.
wish
You
they would have
loved it.
just
I
given
love it
each
when
other
I'm
like a quick little
surprised.
peck on the cheek, dude. A quick little like,
Yeah.
we are definitely in a relationship kiss.
Well, even
That
like
that would have
yeah.
been nice. For the fangirl in me, I was like, whoa, I didn't know I wanted that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and there were I don't know, there were a lot of really cool moments in it. There were a lot of
Hmm.
really cool interactions
The
between the
fight
characters.
scenes
The
in
yeah, the
this
fight
movie
scenes were
were
great.
really, really cool.
I enjoyed the
Um,
choreography, how unique they used their
yep.
powers, like how
The c-
uniquely, especially Spectrum, or
yeah,
which
or
they
yeah,
never actually call her.
Monica. I think
But
Photon is her like.
yeah, Photon, Spectrum, whichever one she
Uh,
wants to go by. Uh,
she had some really cool moments in
mhm,
it. There was like this one scene where she like is getting tossed to the ground, and she kind of like dives into it like it's water, and she just like
yeah,
flows right into it. Like that was super cool to me. Uh,
yeah,
and also just like to me, the conception of the idea of the three of them switching, that was really cool. That's like a
yeah,
really
and they
creative
pulled it off.
spin.
The
Yes.
CGI like held up
Yeah.
for that. Like
Yeah.
the only
Really,
time
really
I
cool.
noticed the CGI wasn't really holding up was when they were like flying.
Yeah.
There were
I
times
really
when they
liked
were
the
flying.
confusion that they set with like the whole
Mm-hmm.
switching. Like it was like a purposeful confusion in the beginning of the movie. Like you felt like what the fuck is going on? Like how is it happening? Why is it happening only sometimes when they use their powers, but not always?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a part of it. It's like a manufactured confusion. They did it really well.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I
which
do like that they led that confusion into them, eventually figuring out like how to
how to do it,
master
yeah,
it.
and practice that
Yeah.
practice montage of theirs where they're like going through like doing this. Yeah, I really
Yeah,
like
there
that.
were a couple cool when they're like juggling and they're
Yeah, or like
switching
jumping
the
rope and
yeah,
shit.
they're
Like that
doing the
would be
double
so
dutch.
hard. Can you
Oh my god.
imagine like the
I was literally
coordination to
thinking
do that?
that I was literally thinking that when I was watching. I was like,
Like to
dude,
switch from jumping to like
to
doing it
like
with your
moving your
hands,
arms to
like that would be
jumping again,
crazy.
like
Yeah.
no way.
Uh So that was really cool. I really like that. That honestly, that practice montage led it to another really cool moment, which was a combo between Monica and Carol when they're fighting Darben at the end. I don't know if you guys caught this. If you didn't, go back and try to find it.
Hmm.
Uh, they're throwing the universal weapon between the two of them, and they're just like passing it around, switching places, passing it around. I think they switch it between the two of them like 4 or 5 times, and then they just like nail Darben with it, like
Damn.
that, like momentum energy. It's super cool.
Yeah, one of
And
like that's a part of the choreography as well, and
hmm hmm
the actors nailed it.
Yeah,
They did
I
a good
absolutely agree.
job at
Hmm.
making it feel real and fluid. And like Kamala like Kamala when she uses the scarf in
Oh yeah,
Aladdin, that whole fight scene, the
yeah, that was
Aladdin
cool.
fight scene
Yeah,
where she's using the scarf, that I
I'm
thought that
hoping we
was
get a more
really well
some more
done.
scarf action from her,
Yep,
like in the
yeah,
future, because that was
I
cool.
agree. Yeah, the
Uh,
costumes in general were all
yeah,
pretty cool.
actually, Kamala in general was awesome. What an
Yeah.
amazing part of this movie. Honestly, she might be my favorite part of this movie.
Yeah, between the writing, the performance, the
Yeah,
casting of the character,
man, I always
everything.
forget the name of the actress's name.
Iman Vellani.
Yeah, you're so
Iman.
good at that. I don't know how you can keep that in. Iman Vellani's performance was just so cool. Uh,
Yeah.
like she was perfect. The like fangirliness, the giddiness of her, like even when she's in the background of scenes, like the way that she's just like in love with Carol and just like shipping everything she's doing and just like lasered in on all of her actions is just so awesome. And she's just
Yeah.
like when she has that scene with Goose where he like eats the person and like that like scream she lets out is so like genuine. It's so
Yes.
perfect. It's so like, oh my fucking god,
Like,
what
what
did
did
I
I
just
just
see?
witness? Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Like, who
pretty
is
cool.
this? What is this thing? Like, yeah, like her performance was incredible. They could not
Yeah,
have cast better. Like,
yeah, for real.
she is Captain
Yeah,
Miss Marvel. She
yeah,
is Kamala Khan.
hundred
Like,
percent. Uh,
I don't know. I thought it was a really well
I also
done.
really enjoyed Carol a lot more the second time
Hmm.
around I watched this movie. I kind of like picked up a little bit more on like the like tragic hero arc that she was on, and that
Hmm.
like the reality of being Captain Marvel isn't very glamorous. Like she like is always in planets that are like dying or like catastrophe is happening. Like people are being relocated, people are being turned into refugees. Like that's the
Hmm.
work she does. Like the Captain Marvel work is dirty, and that was a cool like arc to see her like
And
when she's like losing the scrolls. It's almost like she has this like horrible shame that she's doing it in front of Monica and this girl who obviously idolizes the shit out of her. Like she
yeah,
like looks like ashamed almost to like show them the real reality of what it's like to be her.
and it was interesting
You know?
seeing Kamala see
Hmm.
Captain Marvel for the person she is,
Yeah.
rather
Right.
than like this idealistic,
Yeah.
unrealistic
Yeah.
version of her that
Version of
she's
her. Yeah.
created in her head.
Yeah.
Like, and it
Which is
really
really cool.
lended itself well
Yeah.
to each other.
I think that like led to like a little bit of like that really good chemistry that was between the characters. That
Hmm.
uh like that scene where she kind of like invades Monica's like privacy in her mind and like is showing the moments between her and her like dying mom. Like
Hmm.
that like was a good segue to like making like their like bond like
Yeah,
stronger in the long
yeah,
run. And like that was cool. That was a good use of writing and like a good use of storytelling for that.
yeah.
But that leads us into one of the negatives, unfortunately, in this movie, and that would be Darben. Darben was very lacking in a lot of ways. That I like out of all the gripes that like I saw from people, saying that this movie was bad and bad, whatever. The one that I can say that I would agree with was the villain was very lacking,
Yeah, the villain
unfortunately.
needed more oomph. It needed more
Yeah,
gravitas.
yeah. I think you
She
and I
didn't.
talked about it in the sense that like she should have either been more on the side of like that dictator imperialistic side where she's like, I'm doing this for my people, like you stripped from my people, so I'm stripping from you.
And
Like
it
I'm
has to be
taking
done. Like
yeah,
I
it
don't
has to
like
be
not
done. Otherwise
necessarily.
my
I don't
people are gonna
necessarily
die.
want to do this, but I
Hmm.
have to do this.
Like if she would have leaned more into that or leaned more into like the sociopathic, like psychotic, like she just was like fully unhinged and just was like out for like some crazy, crazy vengeance. They would have
Yeah,
leaned more into that as well. I think she would have been better.
more
They
like
kind of
what
went
we
in the
talked about.
middle and then like they
It
didn't
didn't
hit
really
either,
work exactly,
like,
and
and
we
like,
and like we talked about with Deadpool and Wolverine. If you guys haven't
mm-hmm,
listened, go listen.
yeah,
But we talked about Cassandra Nova and how well that was
was
written
pulled off.
and
Yeah.
pulled off
Hmm.
because she was fully psychopathic,
Yep.
like she was
And it's
sociopathic.
nice, it's refreshing to see a
Rather, she
villain like
just
that.
like
Marvel has that villain problem where like all of
mhm.
like it's
It's
good to
just a
see that
phase,
relatable villain.
especially with
I like
Phase
that
Four.
relatable villain, like that's
Yeah,
good. Like not all of them have to be that way. Sometimes it's nice to see the villain be crazy for the sake of crazy. Like
yeah.
Cassandra Nova is a perfect example. Another one was Norman's Green Goblin in No Way
Hmm.
Home. Like that was so cool. Like someone who's unhinged, just this like villain, for no other reason than just for the sake of villainy.
Then their
That shit's
mind
dope.
is broken. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then it was
that
kind of
shit's cool.
similarly to the two of them. They're both of their minds were broken.
Hmm. Yeah,
And like with that, there's with Darben, they could have utilized her better,
yeah,
but they also could have just chosen a different. Like I feel like there were other characters
yeah,
that either
absolutely.
were known or obscure. You
Yeah.
know.
You and I kind of had talked about the idea that, and let us know, you guys, if you agree with this concept of ours here, or if you think that we should just keep our opinions to ourselves. I think that, or Kyle and I were having a conversation that Nova would have been a really good introduction here, or like the Imperial Guard to be like a secondary villain to Darben, to have them been kind of like chasing Carol throughout like the cosmos to answer for what she did on Hala. Because like like what she did was kind of like fucked up. Like she thought she was doing something good, but like the
But it was
unintended
probably a
consequence of
galactic
that
war crime.
was,
You
well,
know.
yeah, she the Kree were one of the greatest empires in the universe, and she crippled them down to people who couldn't breathe the air or didn't have water, didn't have a sun. Like so like
Yep.
she did a bad thing. So like it would have been cool to maybe see like Nova as like a police force or the Imperial Guard for the Shi'ar, like coming after the Annihilator before she got to the Shi'ar Empire and like annihilated them type shit. You know? Uh
Yeah, like being proactive,
yeah,
chasing them
and
down, having like a cat and mouse with them.
yeah,
That would have been
right, yeah.
interesting.
Because
Like,
they would have been switching places, and they would have been like, "What's happening? Like, where's Carol? Like, where's Captain? Where's the Annihilator?"
yeah,
It would have just been this
and
cool.
they could have done the same thing that they did with this movie with Darben, with allowing her to see, allowing Kamala and Monica to see, Captain Marvel
For
for
who she
the
is.
person she
Like,
is. It would have
like that she
allowed. It
makes
would have allowed
mistakes, that
for
she's
the
not this perfect like
It would have allowed for
being.
every single thing that they
Yeah,
had in this one, but with a cooler villain, which would have allowed for cooler fight scenes like
yeah.
Gladiator versus Captain
Oh,
Marvel.
that would
I
have
would
been
pay
sick.
anything to
Yeah,
see
you
that. That's
guys, how
amazing.
awesome would that have been to see?
Come on, yeah.
Just
Like
like,
I don't know if anyone can deny that. That'd be
yeah,
cool.
absolutely. Like Deathbird would have been really cool to see. Just like all the Imperial Guard, like Flashfire. Like, there's some really cool characters in there.
Hmm.
And like, or just
And it
like
would have
Nova
allowed for
again, a,
like
a
a
really cool introduction to Nova. Have him kind of be on the flip side, that he's like the villain of the story a little bit, but
but
he's
he's
not the
also
villain. He's
actually the
like in
good
the
guy.
right. Like he's just the police force coming to like get Carol to answer for what she did.
He's just doing his
And
job.
yeah, and then they could have a moment in the movie where they kind of explain to him, he understands their perspective, then he joins their side against Darben,
Hmm.
or something like that.
Yeah,
What do you
or
guys think of
even
that? Do you guys
yeah.
think that that's a cool idea? Do you guys think that we are completely wrong, and do you just like exactly what they did, or do you
Yeah,
not
let us
think that
know.
this is
Like
where the movie was lacking? Do you not think that Darben was the problem with the movie? Yeah, let us know.
any and all thoughts
Yeah,
we welcome. We wanna talk about this stuff at length, ad
yeah,
nauseum.
absolutely.
But
And
one of the other interesting things that they built into would be the Young Avengers. I'm
Yeah, that was
excited
kind of
for
cool.
that with
Dude, that
Kate Bishop
Kamala
and
Fury scene, that was funny as hell, man. I love that. I like
yeah,
really thoroughly enjoyed that.
she was great. She pulled it off really well. Again, it goes back to Amon's performance. Like
Yep,
she did a
absolutely.
great job.
She hit that shit
She
right.
just did
Because
what
that would have been a scene that would have been like super cringy and campy, and I would have not enjoyed it if it wasn't done like good.
yeah. I just love I
You
found
know.
it in my couch. She says it with such confidence. I love it.
I love that too.
But
And yeah, so
what
you guys, what do you think the Young Avengers team is going to be? Because they have set up like a lot of the roster of the Young Avengers already. Like we have in this movie, Kamala goes to Kate Bishop. She name drops Cassie Lang. We know that White Widow. Why can't I think of her name right now? Um, wow, shame, shame on all of us. It's not Natasha. It's Kyle. Bring it
Yelena.
to me. Elena. Wow, we're
Yelena.
terrible.
Yeah.
Yelena. Awful.
Yeah. That took way too long.
Yeah.
Um
Shame us in the comments. Shame us in the
yeah.
comments.
We're gonna leave that big gap in so you know just how bad that was.
All right.
Uh
So that's four right there. And then with Agatha coming out, I have heard that Hulkling is going to be in that. He's a member at one point. Wiccan and Speed could be brought back through Agatha.
and they're both members
Um.
of the
Yep.
comic version.
Mm-hmm.
Patriot is a member of it,
Yeah,
and they're
that's coming in
coming
the
in
new
Brave New
movie. Yep,
World.
in the next movie.
The Falcon, Joaquin Torres's Falcon is going to be
Mm-hmm.
in it.
Mm-hmm.
However, he's not like an original member, but he could definitely
But
still
he
be a member.
leans right in.
Yeah,
America
exactly.
Chavez. She's been introduced.
And she's
Ironheart's been
also a
introduced.
member. Ironheart's a
Uh,
member. Iron Lad's a member.
it'd be cool to see Iron Lad if they brought back Harley from Iron Man 3 and
As
like from
Iron
the
Lad.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
dude, yeah. When I saw him again at the like Tony funeral, like it gave me such a hope for seeing him
Hmm.
as Iron Lad. Yeah, I
Yeah.
really, really want that.
But they could
Well, that's a lot of
also,
members right there already.
yeah.
That's like
I
eight,
did have
nine
the thought that
members.
they could also recast Kang with Iron Lad.
Yeah, that would be really interesting because that like go more comic book
Yeah, the
oriented
comic
with
book accurate
Iron
one.
Lads. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I do hope that they bring back Harley as well, though,
yeah,
personally.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different characters that have been in the Young
yeah.
Avengers.
They
There's a
have been
lot of
introduced
characters that
already.
they've introduced that
Yeah.
could very easily fit in, or that certainly will be in it.
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't know.
very
It's
curious
yeah,
at when we're
which
going to see the Young Avengers culminate. If we're going to see them like
they could
culminate
also
in
do it
Secret Wars, or if there's going to have like another like
their own
movie
show
where we're
or
gonna
their own
where we're gonna
movie.
see them like build the Young Avengers team, and like have their first mission of sorts.
Yeah, there's a
Um,
lot they could be doing with it,
yeah,
definitely. And I
yeah,
mean, the other thing is they could do like a rotating roster because there are a lot of different
yeah. There's
characters
a
that
lot
they
of
could bring
characters
in,
there.
so they could have a rotating roster where like sometimes it's these 5 or 6, sometimes it's these 6 or 7. Like
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
I don't
And
know. There's a lot they could do with it. That's for sure.
another thing that was really cool in this, and I'm very curious to see when they're going to bring back up, was that mutant world, the Beast universe that Monica ends up in, where like Beast is in the classic like Beast look, like with the lab
Oh,
coat, like
he looks so
binaries in her
good. I
classic suit.
really hope the MCU
They
Beast
name
movie
drop
comes
Charles,
back.
so like we can assume that the rest of the X-Men are all there, like Scott and Bobby, Jean.
Hmm.
Um, when that's gonna come back into play,
Yeah.
because
When do you guys think that's gonna come back? Because like that's
yeah,
there's a
that's one
lot
thing
of
that
different
as
projects
far as
going on, but they haven't touched on that at all.
I know, I haven't heard of that coming back up in like any sort of capacity yet. So yeah, let us know if we're missing something. But
Yeah.
yeah, I really do think that this movie, like all in all, in its like entirety, was like a super right step in the right direction for comic books movies to be more comic booky. Like the
Hmm.
moments that they had, like in Aladdin, like with the singing, like a lot of people might have cringed at that, and that could have been a reason why a lot of people didn't like this movie or something. Like it, but knowing that that's like a place in the comics and that they do sing and dance for their communication, like makes it cool. Like
Yeah.
at least to
Well,
like
for me, like I yeah
fans.
yeah. Well, for me, I didn't know about Aladdin. I didn't know anything
But
about
you
it
like
from the
musicals,
comics, but I like musicals, so I
yeah,
enjoyed it a lot. But I can
right.
definitely see where, like you
Hmm.
said, people would definitely be
Or like the
put off
Flurkin
by
scene
that.
where it was like totally like way out of the realm of fantasy, where like
Yeah, it
they're
was
like using cats to eat
ridiculous.
people to like take them off the
Yeah.
ship.
I did laugh and I found it funny
But
when they
I
don't
loved
run
it. It
from the
was
Flurkins,
so
let them eat
comic
you.
booky. Like it felt just like such a comic book solution, such like a like in Sunday cartoons. We talk about this in our Deadpool and Wolverine one too, because there's a moment, spoiler warning, in Deadpool and Wolverine, where they like are holding hands and like essentially the power of friendship wins the day, like at the end
Yeah,
of the movie, like, and that's like so comic
cheesy,
booky. Yeah,
but
but like
it's great.
to me, it's like how every Sunday morning cartoon ended or Saturday morning cartoon. Like that's how like all of it was. Like, how are we going to defeat this horrible evil villain that's taking over the universe? Through friendship and love and like appreciation for those around you. It's like
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what it is.
that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I personally
Spoiler
like
warning
that.
over.
Yeah.
If you skipped forward, you're good now. But
Yeah, so in
yeah,
my
there
opinion,
were
this was a big jump in the right direction, and I think like now with Deadpool, we're seeing them kind of lean more into that comic booky
that's exactly what I was
and
gonna say. With they
yeah,
did it with Deadpool,
bright
but they
colors.
also they executed it well, just like
Hmm.
they did this.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah,
Now, you guys, we are trying to do a little segment here called Spilled Milk, where we just kind of gripe about things that we didn't enjoy at
cry
the
over
end and
spilled
just kind
milk a
of
little
cry
bit.
over some spilled milk. And one of mine, my main one actually, is Carol not having her energy siphoning abilities in the MCU. What's with that? I don't know if
I
that's like a conscious choice or if they just like are still planning to do it somehow. But to me, this was the best opportunity. I don't know why she didn't take it from the quantum bands. Like I was waiting the whole movie for her to like turn that back on Darben, how she kept siphoning Carol's power the whole movie. I was waiting the whole time for her to like turn that back on her and like gain the ability to siphon energy like she always has. But it didn't happen. And like that's one thing. Like, is that? Do you guys think that that's something that they're just never gonna bring to Carol in the MCU, or is it something that might be like still coming in the future? I'm kind of
Yeah,
confused
what do
by
you
it.
guys think? But
Yeah,
personally, I think that like they aren't going to because she's been Captain Marvel for,
for a
30
while.
years now. If
Yeah,
she would have figured out how to do it, she would have
that's
already figured
totally
out how to
true.
do it. Like,
And like I said, if
she has
not,
her
and she
full
needed like a
binary.
catalyst to learn how to do it, like these quantum bands
Would
were
have
the
been the perfect one,
like
exactly, yeah. And that's just one of the, like, many convoluted plot points
yeah,
that was my biggest gripe, was
hmm
just, like,
hmm
the number of, like, the quantum bands in general, A,
pretty
lazy
lazy
name for
writing.
them,
Yeah.
but B, like, why are they so why like, how is,
My
Kamala
confusion was
chosen?
yes, that
Like,
like
how is
what
Kamala
about her
chosen for
mutant
that?
gene made her the chosen for the Bengals specifically? Because her
Why
mutant
didn't
gene
she
is to
blow
like
it? Why didn't she blow up when she used them the way that Darben
yeah,
did?
because like her power is to manipulate hard light, right? She can make structures out of hard light.
I guess I don't
What
know. They
about
haven't
the
really.
Bengals? Like really, or yeah, like I guess like a clarity on Kamala's powers would be really really cool going forward.
Yeah,
And
they
then yeah,
definitely could have done it in this one, but
yeah.
there were a couple other just like convoluted, unnecessarily complicated plot points that didn't really wrap up or lead to anything. That made no sense.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah.
Well, hey, you guys, that covers most of our thoughts on the Marvels. Be sure to follow us at Host for Hire Pod on X or Twitter and Host for Hire Podcast on all other platforms. If you agree with what we were saying, or better yet, if you disagree with us on any of the things we covered today, please make sure to let us know in the comments. You know,
We hope you enjoyed our takes on our thoughts on the Marvels.
yeah,
This film, in our opinions, caught a bit more heat than was warranted by the masses, like we said. But those can't always be trusted. They're not
yeah,
the most
you know the
credible.
masses.
There's some incels amongst them that are very loud. But we overall, I mean, we both enjoyed this movie. It was a
Yeah,
fun hour and 45 minute space adventure. There
yeah,
were some negatives, but that's gonna happen with any piece of
yeah.
media.
What isn't?
It's just gonna
Like,
happen.
yeah.
There's worse things in the world than women. I promise you, incel
Yeah,
men.
right.
But
Yeah, fellas, please. There's worse things out there than women-led movies. We can stop with the whole hate about it. Come
yeah,
on
yeah.
now.
Well, we
Come
do
on now.
truly appreciate you guys listening in and joining us, and we hope to see you next time. Thanks.